5 life lessons I've learned now that I've turned 50. Hey, I'm Scott Peckford. This is the I Love Mortgage Brokering podcast. And this week I'm going to do something a little bit different. Normally, I talk about business, I talk about tactics. I just turned 50 and I thought, you know what? I'm going to share a short episode and talk about 5 lessons that I've learned that in life that will hopefully resonate with you or give you something to think about. And I normally don't post anything about my birthday. In fact, I don't even have it on my social. I don't post about it. To me, it's just another day. But turning 50, I thought, you know what? If I was going to share some thoughts, this would be the time to do it. And it's great. It's good to go back and reflect. I'm at the halfway point of my life, maybe depending on how long I live. And I just wanted to share some things that have been really helpful for me, and hopefully they'll be helpful for you. Before I jump into that, I want to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, Ownwell. Ownwell's a great tool for mortgage brokers to to basically market to your database to people's home buying power on a monthly basis. Creates these great reports. They have great click rates of 60 to 80%, and clients engage with it and they want to have conversations about what can I do with my buying power? Can I refi? Can I purchase? And this is a tool that has been available in the US for a long time under HomeBot and other versions of that. And it's finally available in Canada. And I think you're going to really dig it. Check it out at ownwell.ca/Scott. And let me just jump into this episode. All right. So I'm going to share with you 5 lessons that I've learned now that I've turned 50. And some of these lessons I have learned sooner than 50 years, but I thought this is a good time to put a pin in this. And the very first lesson that I've learned is that you need to take ownership of everything in life. And I don't mean just some things, I mean everything. So your health, your money, your business, your relationships, all of it. So I recently went through divorce and definitely gave me an opportunity to reflect and think about, okay, well, how did I contribute to this? What did I do? Like most guys, they say most guys don't have a clue that there's a problem until your significant other comes and says, hey, there's a problem. And what I realized was that there was a lot of ways I wasn't showing up as a good partner. And so I went down the path of therapy and coaching, did a lot of these things and worked to try to get the relationship to get back together. And it didn't work out. And what I'd realized is that even though I had changed and started showing up differently, the damage had been done from, think of like scar tissue, years of it not working. Unfortunately, my ex could only see me through the lens of who I was, not who I was being. And it ended up being, the best thing for us was to go separate ways and to just focus on being good co-parents with each other. And that's been working out great. We are excellent co-parents of our kids. My kids are 16, 19, 18, and 20. And our priority is we got to make sure that we're still there for them and that our issues don't become something that interferes with them. And that's how we've done it. Now that divorce can be a very challenging, difficult topic. And I'm talking over this because I've had lots of time to reflect on it, but it wasn't easy in any way. And there was lots of times where it was stressful and tearful, but a lot of learning. And the thing I learned in this whole thing is there was some junk that I had to work on. I had some issues, didn't know this, right? Kind of clueless. And going through this process really helped me solidify who I am, what I want, and where I want to go. And it also reminded me of the importance of taking ownership. And when I was I'm not dating, but when I was in the dating pool, I would meet people that would blame their spouse. They'd say, oh, this person did this to me, that person, they're not taking ownership. And when you don't take ownership, then you don't have agency and you can't make any changes. And so I believe even if your ownership is 1%, or if it's a relationship, if you're not happy with your relationships you've got to take ownership of that. If you're not happy with your business, you've got to take ownership of that. We live in a society that is just, everybody wants to out-victim the next person. And you can win at that. Great. You want being the bigger victim. What is that going to do for you? How's it going to help your life? How's it going to help people that matter to you? All you're going to do is you're going to just find more ways to be a victim. And I have zero patience for that. I'm definitely not a counselor. I'm a performance coach, but not a counselor because I have no patience for that type of thinking and mindset because I believe we need to take ownership for our own junk. And you can disagree with me on that, and that's fine. And that's my personal belief. So first thing is you got to take ownership of everything: life, business, relationships. The second lesson that I've learned turning 50, and I learned this really even when I was back in my 20s, is that 99% of the things you worry about will never happen. So we sit there and we create so much anxiety for ourselves. And this anxiety creates physiological changes that make us sicker because we sit there and we ruminate. Whatever you focus on expands. And so if I'm focusing on all of the bad things that are happening and the problems, I'm just going to get more of that, not less of it. It's going to seem bigger and more broad. And I have a friend who, when I was a paramedic, he was in his 40s and I thought he was old because I was in my 20s. He's so old. He's not that. 40s is not that old, by the way. And he great guy, awesome personality, and he gets sick and he gets this disease called ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease. And if you've never heard of, well, you probably heard of it, but it's a terrible condition and you will die from it for sure. And your body basically just stops working. Your brain is fine, but your body stops working. And he died about 2 years after that. And he had said to me, Scott, the thing I've realized is that 95% of the things, 99% of the things that I worried about never happened. And here I am, I'm getting caught with something that was never on my radar. And that's the reality, is that most of the times we suffer, I think Marcus Aurelius said this, we suffer more in imagination than we do in reality. Don't focus on it. It doesn't mean that bad things won't happen, but the reality is that most of the things you think won't happen are not gonna. It is not worth your energy. Focus back to taking ownership. Focus on what things you can control. So lesson number 1, take ownership of everything in your life. Lesson number 2, 99% of things you worry about never happen. Number 3, you need to take risks. One of the things I think I read a book several times, and it's called The 5 Regrets of the Dying. And the number one regret, one of the top regrets, is I work too much. Of course, that's pretty, but it's not the number one. The number one is I wish I would have lived a life that was true to me and not what other people expected of me. I want to say that again because it's that important. I wish I lived a life that was true to me and not what everyone else expected of me. What happens is that we don't take risks with relationships, with business or whatever, because we are so worried often what other people are going to think. What is my significant other going to think? What are my parents going to think? What are my kids going to, whatever that excuse is. And at the end of the day, you get one, as far as we know, you get one wonderful life and you get to decide what to do with it. And you don't want to be in your deathbed thinking, oh, I wish I would have done X. There's 2 types of regret. They talk about the regret of trying something and it failing. That sucks. But the bigger regret is not even attempting it and going, I wish I would have done X. And I think that we need to take more risks. And even when you think about business, the outcome, the negative outcome of taking a risk in business, especially in Canada, the US, is not that big. In most cases, you're not going to, it used to be hundreds of years ago, if you took on debt and you owed people money, you could go to debtor's prison. They'd put you in prison, your family, and they wouldn't feed you. Then your family has to come feed you, and you have to try to figure out a way to get out of debtor's prison. But how are you going to get out of debtor's prison when you're in debt and you can't work or do anything? So you can imagine that is today we have bankruptcy laws. I'm not saying that any of this stuff is fun. People have been through it, but there's been some great people who've been through these terrible things and come out the other side better for it. So you can take risks. Most of the time, the things are the social infrastructure in place in the West is very good. You're likely not going to be living under a bridge if things don't work out. But we live with so much fear. And again, back to that, the 5 regrets of the dying, you don't want to get to the end of your life and go, man, I wish I would have taken that risk. I wish I would have tried that business idea. I wish I would have had that, reached out to that person that I want to build a relationship with, insert whatever that is. I'll tell you a quick story from that book that was really touching and also a little bit disturbing. So there was a woman in the book who was dying. So the 5 regrets of the dying is written by a hospice nurse who was helping people in basically their last week or maybe 2 of life. And she would help ease their pain and while they were dying. And I was a paramedic for 9 years. I've been to many hospices, and they're not typically happy places. But anyway, she wrote down her insights. And this one story she told was a woman who was married to someone he wasn't kind to her, treated her really poorly. And all she was waiting for him to die. So she thought, okay, when he dies, I will finally have a little bit of peace of my own. And she's in her 70s, and she thinks I'll finally have my peace because he's gone. And she said to the writer of the book that he died from smoking, from lung cancer. And then I got lung cancer. I never smoked, from secondhand smoke. So I'm dying. When I thought I had this freedom that was going to come to me, it's gone because I'm dying of secondhand smoke from a relationship that I should have ended 50 years ago. You don't want that to be you. You don't want to get to the end of your life and say, I didn't take the risk. Take the risk. You got nothing you literally got nothing. You got one life. Take the risk. That's the third lesson. The fourth lesson is take care of your health. I did not take care of my health really well. And I think the reason is because when you're healthy, it's something you don't even think about. A couple of years ago, I got a disc injury, a bulging disc, and they talked about doing surgery. I opted not for the surgery, instead went down a path of physiotherapy and lots of stretching, and was able to recover. But there was a period there for several months where I could not walk 100 yards without my leg going numb. And I'm a pretty active guy. And I thought, man, if this is my life, I can't walk 100. What are my options? 100 yards, my leg is numb, half a kilometer or not even 300 yards and my back is hurting. And it made me realize that health is the number one thing. I think my buddy Nate says wealth without health is nothing. If you don't have your health, it doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter if you could. I heard somebody told me this story once of, you imagine you are super rich, you're a billionaire, you've got a yacht, you've got an island, you've got a jet, you're sitting on the beach, somebody's feeding you grapes, everything's wonderful, but then you get a tickle in your throat and you start to get sick. You don't care about any of that. If you get sick, you're not going to care about what you get a diagnosis of cancer. None of it's going to matter. And you have to take care of your health. And so I've been prioritizing my health a lot more, and I feel a lot better. I feel at 50, I feel better and fitter than I did certainly in the last 20 or 30 years, for sure. And it's because you need to take care of it. And we talk about like lifespan's been increasing. What about health span? Health span is are you functionally fit? And you don't need to be working, lifting weight. You should, but I'm not going to say I'm not a fitness expert, but you should be walking. It's something you can do. It could be walking. It could be hiking. Who knows? It could be riding a cycle. But the reality is that you need to take care of your health. If you don't take care of your health, all of the work you do, all the mortgages you fund, all of the clients you help, no matter all the reviews that you get, it's going to mean nothing when your health turns on you. And I would encourage you that make sure you take care of your health. At number 5, so I'll do a quick recap. Take ownership of everything in your life. Number 2, 99% of things you worry about never happen. So don't give it any of your energy. Number 3, you need to take more risks. Number 4, take care of your health. And number 5, what you believe really matters. And I'll talk about and I believe your mindset, protect your mindset. You've got to protect your mindset. I used to, as a paramedic, I used to read a lot of studies on health. I still do to this day. And they'd always talk about something called the placebo effect. And the placebo effect is where someone gets this, what they think is a medicine, it's a sugar pill, and they're told, hey, this is going to take away your pain, or this is going to take away your headache or your migraine. And for a percentage of people, it works. And here's what I used to think when I was young and naive, and I'm a little bit older and a little bit less naive. I'm sure there's lots of things when I turn 60, I'll be able to think, man, what was I thinking? I used to think the reason the placebo effect worked is because people had weak minds. That's what I thought. But now I've actually completely flipped that. I believe that it's because it's the power of the mind that makes the placebo effect work. It is one of the most consistent phenomena in medicine. And what we're saying is that what you believe about that pill absolutely affects its ability to influence you. So let's take it out of the scientific for a second. If you believe that, for instance, and I talked to mortgage brokers about this, we shouldn't call people because it's a holiday, they're going to be busy, or I shouldn't call at a certain time. Guess what? That belief is going to prevent you from taking that action. Therefore, you're going to get a bad result. I've talked to other people. There's one of my friends, Dustin Carlson, who used to do Game of Phones with us as a coach. He told me he loved calling on holidays. I'm not saying that you need to do this. I'm just giving you an example. He would love on calling on holidays because people were sitting around bored on their phones and they wanted somebody to talk to. And he got tons of business for him. So here's the crux of this whole thing. You get to decide what you believe to be true. You decide. So if I want to believe that it's true that I shouldn't phone people because I'm bothering them, okay, it's great. Is it going to help you serve your goals? Is it going to help you serve your family, your clients? Or is your belief going to be, if I make phone calls, I get to help people, I get to have great conversations? Because whatever you believe is true. There's 2 types of truth. Most of you would know this, but anybody listening should know this. There's subjective and objective truth. Subjective truth depends on the subject, the person. Objective truth is 2 + 2 is 4. Subjective truth is, I don't think phone calls work. Okay, you're right. And this is what I say to people all the time now when I coach them, is that they come to me and say, Scott, I can't be a mortgage broker because the tariffs are going to mess up the mortgage industry. It's going to be terrible. And I'll tell them, you're right. And then I'll let them sit in that. And they go, well, what do you mean I'm right? Well, you're right. And then someone else comes to me, hey, Scott, this is going to be fantastic. So many people are leaving the industry. It's so much easier to get a hold of referral partners. I could build a fantastic business. And I tell them, you're also right. You get to decide what you believe to be true in these. Now, I don't think that this mindset stuff I can't make myself 6 feet tall. It'd be awesome if I could sit there and think, Scott, you're 6 feet. I'm not 6 feet, by the way. My son is, and it would be cool. But there are limits to this for sure. But most of us don't even come close to playing within the bounds of that limit. And we often take beliefs that someone else gave us or imposed upon us, and we live those out as if they're true. I'll leave you with this is something I learned from NLP. I was listening to a podcast recently from Diary of a CEO, and it was a brain expert. This woman is a neuroscientist, studies the brain, and she's all this science and everything she was doing. She was talking about all these great, big, fancy words. And at the end of it, it came down to this simple framework that I learned from Bernadette Laxamana several years ago. And it's literally could simplify everything this person said in this 2 sentences that I'm going to share with you. Is that it's this idea that the story that we tell ourselves, so what I believe, affects the story I tell myself affects my emotion. My emotion affects my actions, and my actions affects my results. So if I'm not happy with my results, I can't go back. You can look at the actions, but often the actions are a result of emotions and the emotions are a result of the story. So I have a bad story. The story I tell myself is not going to serve me in what my goals are. And so that's what I want to share with you. These are my 5 mindset lessons that I've learned from turning 50. Hopefully you find that useful. Give a quick recap. Take ownership of everything in your life. 99% of the things you worry about will never happen. Make sure that you take risks because you only get one wonderful life. Take care of your health and protect your mindset. Thanks for listening. I am Scott Peckford. This is I Love Mortgage Brokering Podcast. I appreciate that you tune into this. I appreciate that you share it. If you want to get on my email list, every week I put together an email. I put a lot of time into it to share 3 things for you to check out, content ideas to copy, and 1 idea from me. You can click on this episode. There'll be a link to that. We get fantastic feedback on that email because we make it specifically for mortgage brokers. The other way you can find it is find me on social, click on my link tree. You don't have to follow me if you don't want to. Click on the link tree, get on my email list. I promise you it will be useful to you. Check it out. Thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.